Coming up on ITV News London, held for a year in a Greek prison. Finally a court date for a man accused of murder in Malaya. What happened next when the Met rounded up the rough sleepers of Marble Arch? And why your wheelie bin could soon be weighed. Coming up next, moved on from Marble Arch only to return later. So how successful was a crackdown on Roma rough sleepers?
We've the national news on the way, but now on ITV, here's the latest from where you are.
Good evening, welcome to the ITV News in London. Tonight's main stories. A year in prison without trial, now a date at last for the man accused of murder in Crete.
If you look at the evidence, you can see there's no reason to extend his detention. Plus, you've had him for a year. If you're so confident that it is Miles, then why haven't you given us a court date? So when we finally got it, everybody's just happy.
Rounded up overnight and back by mid-morning, the Roma rough sleepers of Marble Arch. Rewards for recycling. Could a successful scheme in Windsor be coming to your council? And swimming to save our seas, why one man was front crawling up the Thames today. Hello, I'm Nina Hossain. The family of a man accused of the murder of a teenager in Crete are hoping he could be home for Christmas. Now he's finally got a trial date. Miles Lichmore Dunbar has already spent more than a year in prison awaiting trial for the murder of Tyrrell Matthews Burton, who was stabbed to death last year. Our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips, reports.
Chris Dunbar has spent more than a year campaigning to get his teenage son released from a Greek prison. With the trial date finally set for 6 weeks' time, he's confident the truth will now come out.
This is what we've been waiting for. I think part of the hardest thing was there was no end date. We've had him for a year. If you're so confident that it is Miles, then why haven't you given us a court date? So when we finally got it, everybody's just happy, just overjoyed.
In an interview with ITV News last year at the Avalon Detention Centre where he's being held, Miles Lichmore Dunbar protested his innocence.
Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Ronke.
I did not murder Tyrrell. I'm completely innocent, 100% innocent.
Miles is charged with the murder of Tyrrell Matthews Burton, who was stabbed during a mass brawl outside a nightclub in Malaya last July. Several other men were also arrested at the time, but only Miles was detained. There's no forensic evidence to tie Miles to the killing, and he's consistently said he was only trying to break up the fight.
The evidence against Miles is so weak, really, really weak, and to think that 19 people were arrested and within 24 hours, the police had closed their investigation. I don't know where else that could happen, that quickly.
Just a quick hug.
Miles has had only limited contact with his mother and other family members since he was arrested. But now the details of the case will be aired in open court. They all believe this is about to change.
Whilst he's been there, he's learnt enough Greek to take 5 GCSE exams. He didn't need to take any exams. He's a university student, so it just shows what his character is, and just really, really proud of him. Just can't wait to get him home.
And if all goes to plan, he may have his son home in time for Christmas. Ronke Phillips, ITV News.
Well, a little earlier I spoke to the family's solicitor, Hilary Brown, and asked her what the legal files have revealed about the police investigation in Crete.
Well, we still have about 1,000 documents that need to be translated as the file was sent over in Greek. But we do know from the photographs that we've had that there are about half a dozen people who were videoing and taking photographs of the incident. We'd really urge these people to come forward.
How hopeful are you that those people, it was a long time ago, will come forward and talk about what they saw that night?
Well, it was a major incident, and I don't think it's something that you see every day. It should certainly stick out in some people's minds.
You believe that some of the evidence has been lost or destroyed. Are you hopeful that Miles will ever face a fair trial?
We have to remain hopeful. We certainly feel that we already have enough evidence to show that Miles did not commit this heinous crime.
The family is saying they believe Miles could come home in time for Christmas, given your legal background and working on this case and the complexity of it, with it being in a foreign country. Are you that optimistic?
Well, I think it depends on whether or not the trial actually starts in October. We certainly think if the trial starts and gets underway, we can certainly get it concluded by the end of November.
All right, Hilary Brown, thank you very much for talking to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Police have begun a new campaign to remove rough sleepers and beggars from the capital's streets. Last night, they began working with immigration officials to target rough sleeping hotspots, including Marble Arch, a well-known area for Romanian immigrants. Rags Martel reports.
4 a.m, and these rough sleepers are woken up by police and immigration officers. Almost all are from Romania. We've come looking for work, but we have nowhere to live, he says. This police operation in Marble Arch tackles homelessness and what police call the antisocial behaviour that comes with it.
So it's not the direct effect of them sleeping rough, it's the fact that they then have to find somewhere to wash, somewhere to go to the toilet. And then the concern for us, especially around children, and then therefore there's safeguarding issues.
The Metropolitan Police say they processed 37 people from here. One person was deported, another left the UK voluntarily, and all the rest were given cease and desist orders. But that's only worked for a few hours. More than 20 have already returned, one using a fountain to wash his clothes. This man tells me many more will be back sleeping here tonight. They're all from Romania, he says, trying to look for work.
In London, the problem of sleeping is getting worse. There were about 6,500 people last year who were seen sleeping rough at one stage or another. I think in the adult population, there's around 700 people who've come from Eastern European countries, but predominantly it's British people sleeping rough on the streets of London.
Is waking up rough sleepers and moving them on the correct way of dealing with this problem?
Well, the biggest struggle for us is getting them at the right time. They were there causing a nuisance to the local community. We have complaints and reports of people sleeping rough. They're obviously affecting businesses, there's news agents, there's hotels, there's restaurants, and them sleeping rough is causing a nuisance to those customers that are using it and the general population.
But the police operation has made little difference. Despite moving them on, rough sleepers are once again settling in the same area. Rags Martel, ITV News, Marble Arch.
A former gang member from Brixton who stabbed a man at the age of 15 and admits she never left home without a knife has written a book about her life to try and stop other teenagers from getting caught up in gang life. Tracy Miller was a member of a gang called the Younger 28 during the 1990s until getting shot, pregnant and imprisoned, forced to make some key changes in her life. She joins me now. Thank you very much for coming in. Do you feel like in writing that book, you're writing about a character rather than what was your life not that long ago?
I'm so far removed from that now, so it almost felt like I'm not even writing about myself.
Would you be able to read us an extract?
Okay, introduction. They call me sour, the opposite of sweet. Shanking, steaming, robbing, I did it all, rolling with the man them. I did it because I was bad. I did it because I had heart, and the reason I reckon I got away with it for so long was because I was a girl.
Why did you think at that time that you were bad?
I knew within my heart that the things I was keeping up was just wrong.
And do you think you're not bad now?
I know I'm not bad now.
Looking back, do you think you weren't actually bad then, that you were just caught up in the wrong life with the wrong people?
I definitely was bad. Back then, I'm not going to give myself any excuses. I did what I did and I have to live with the consequences, as simple as that.
You say you got away with it because you were a girl, and we know that London's gangs now have a real problem with girls not kind of being the girlfriends of the gang members, but joining gangs, that being something that they aspire to do. Do you think it's got worse in the period since you left that life?
Yeah, I think it's definitely got worse.
What's the solution? How can a book like yours or any kind of education stop people doing that?
I just think that youngsters need to take responsibility for their actions, and if they want to change their lives, they can.
And what made you change your life? Was it the simple fact of becoming pregnant and suddenly there was a responsibility for somebody else?
Yeah, I just knew I always had a voice at the back of my mind that even when I was naughty, you know, I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. So I did aspire to more. And then, yeah, it's my daughter. I just knew that having a baby, being pregnant, I couldn't go out and keep up half the stuff I used to do.
She's 16 now. You've got another little girl, a 3-year-old. Do they know anything about the person that you were?
I tell my kids everything. I had to tell my 16-year-old because she would have found out anyway.
And how did she react to that? Because especially she's at a very vulnerable age. We all know it's difficult being a teenager wherever you live, but especially with the pressures in London and gangs that are ever present.
She says to me, Mum, I'm not being disrespectful, but I don't want to turn out like how you did. I don't want to live that lifestyle. I understand that you need to work and earn money. I want to do it legitimately and I want to contribute to society in a good way.
And that's brilliant that you've clearly had a positive influence on her, and it must be a relief to you. What do you feel about the teenagers that you talk to who are in gang life and see that as the norm and see that as the only way that their lives are going to go?
I feel sorry for them. As someone who's lived that lifestyle, sometimes a lot of gang members are too far in to be able to get out. Every time I watch the news and I hear that a youngster has stabbed another youngster and they've died, it hurts me. I don't want to see young black boys, young white boys killing each other. There's no reason for it, and I'm really hurt by it, and that's why I've written this, to see if, you know, I could get through to even one youngster.
Let's
my
hope
job's
your
done.
book really does make a difference. Tracy Miller, thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for reading the extract for us. Thank you. Police have arrested a 20-year-old man in connection with a hit and run in which a teenager was killed just 3 days after he'd collected his GCSE results. 16-year-old Fazan Ahmed was killed in Hemel Hempstead last Friday by a driver who initially stopped but then drove away. Detectives have released photographs of 10 people they want to speak to about violence at the Notting Hill Carnival. In one incident, one man was stabbed in the chest and several more suffered knife wounds. Heathrow's chief executive has urged the mayor to support expansion at his airport should the so-called Boris Island plan be ditched. It comes amid speculation that the government's Airports Commission won't include the estuary scheme when it lays out its preferred options to boost airport capacity.